All right, good morning, everyone. I hope that everyone got a little bit of sleep last night. I got a few minutes. Maybe I was up late and then up again early, trying to see if we made any decisions. We didn't, whatever, it's okay. I'm fine with it. Just gonna live with it for however long I need to live with it. Just gonna be our life from now on. Um, But anyway, I hope you guys are ready to get some math in and hopefully take our minds off of the other math that we've been doing in our head all night, or at least I've been doing in my head all night. I've definitely been doing a lot of counting. Um, but anyway, so we're going to finish our ratio notes today. And also, our goal will be to um, we'll look at a couple of the practices that are also due today, later on today, after this class period. All right. So that's going to be our goal. And then we're also going to talk a little bit, of course, about next week. So it's very hard to keep the calendar in perspective sometimes, but it is Wednesday. And so technically, I'm not going to see you guys again until next Monday. But next Monday is also going to be the only day that I see you all next week for math, because the 11th, next week, Wednesday, is Veterans Day, and AOH Academy of Hope is closed that day. So I will not have a live class that day. Um, and you guys are not going to be expected to do any work. And what we're going to actually do next week is that I'm going to give you guys a midterm exam on Monday. And so what that means is that even if you can't do a live class, you can still do the midterm exam, but the exam will be timed, like just like you would enter into Schoology, go into Schoology, and you will have the midterm available, and it will probably be only available on Monday. So you must log in at some time on Monday to complete it. And you have like 60 minutes to do about 20 questions or so. So it's not going to be like super timed, right? Where you're like, oh no, I have a minute to do every question. You're gonna have enough time, but I just don't want to give you too much time so that you're just sitting there, um, you know, kind of meandering over each question. So you're just gonna be given about 20 questions or so. I already put a practice exercise in this week's folder to prepare you guys for that, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But yeah, just so you know, next week is only one day for math because Wednesday is Veterans Day, and we're not going to have live classes next week Wednesday. You guys have had it so easy. We just got back from break. We had yesterday off for election day. You have next week off for Veterans Day. Thanksgiving is around the corner. Goodness, it's like no school happening anymore. What's going on? We need more school. We might just have you guys just start coming on Saturdays too. That sounds good, right? Everybody's okay with that? Saturday school?
No, we're not good with that.
No, no Saturday school. Okay, that's fine. I guess we won't do Saturday school. I'm okay with that. All right. So let's look at this warm up I have here. Let's see if we're able to answer this question. I know we didn't really finish our notes yet, so there still might be a few questions on how to complete a question like this, but we're going to try. So it says if 12 yards of lumber cost $40, how much do 30 yards cost? How would I set this up? How would I set up this question? I need to change the date. I just realized that. Anyway, how do I set this up? Any ideas? Someone speaking and I can't hear them? Is that what's happening?
No, no, we just didn't. No, I just didn't hear someone
Oh, okay.
saying about it. Okay, so basically, if he said 12 yards, if it lumber to cover,
Uh-huh.
the cover. So I was saying if you go back to do 12, do like a little bit of ratio like that, like
Okay, so how would I set up my ratio?
uh, you probably might want. I know this not that not the answer, but what I would say if you try 12, like like 12 or 40, and then you find him in 12.
Okay, so 12 over 40.
Mhm.
Okay, oops, sorry, let me straighten that up a little bit here. Okay, now I get my pad looking right. So 12 over 40. Okay, now what do I do?
Okay, then you said like the bit. Then you probably want to do
Equals what?
like equal 30, equal 30 over x.
Perfect. That's exactly what I should do. Good. Right, so I need to set up this proportion, right? This is what this is called. Remember that this is a proportion. So I have to set it up like this. And now what do I do?
Start multiplying.
Yeah, I got to cross multiply now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to multiply 40 times 30, right? Which is the same thing as just 4 times 3. What's 4 times 3?
12.
12, and I just add my zeros on, right? So it's 1200, okay, is equal to 12 times x, which is just 12x.
That's a couple.
All right, and now what do I do?
You have to divide that both sides by 12.
I have to divide both sides by 12.
So
Okay,
with that one, that could give you like 100.
so x is equal to $100. Okay, good. All right. So again, this is what we're setting up two ratios equal to each other, which is called a proportion, right? When we set up a proportion, the way to solve it, we have to cross multiply. That's the first step. Right? We have to set our cross products equal. So our cross products, right, are just the results of our cross multiplication, right? Because a product is the result of multiplication. So 40 times 30, that's 1200. 12 times x is 12x. And you see that right here, I set them up equal to each other. 1200 is equal to 12x. Ooh, I should say 12. Cross products. Okay, and the last step is to divide. All right, so those are your three steps when solving a proportion. You cross multiply, you set your products equal, cross products equal to one another, and then you divide, right? You divide by whatever number is in front of the x. All right, so that's our warm up. We're going to finish our notes first and foremost. That's our biggest goal for today. And then after we finish our notes, I'm going to make sure that I show you guys the midterm. And then if we have more time after that, I will get into whatever practice I can try to help you guys out with today. Okay. All right. So let's continue. I'm going to pull up our notes so that we can finish those. Sorry, just give me a second here. All right, so you're in Math Skills 4, right? We're in that course, and I'm just going to access week 7 and pull up the ratios and ratio tables notes. You can see that Monday's class recording has already been posted, so if you missed Monday, you can already watch it. It's already up there. I'm just going to open up my notes and pick up where we left off on Monday. All right, so we are at the bottom of page 2. The real world scenarios. We're going to go back over solving this ratio that we solved on Monday. We're going to start there with the 3 to 11. And then we're going to keep moving from there. Okay. So here we go. We have this.
I'm sorry, Mr. G. You said week 7, correct?
Yep, week 7. Ratios
Okay.
and ratio tables. Ratio tables notes. Yep. Right. It should be the ratios and ratio tables notes. That's what you're looking for. All right, so we did this on Monday, but just to go over it, it says that the number of bones in humans' ears, right? The ratio of the number of bones in humans' ears, right? That should be our first number, to the number of bones in the skull is 3 to 11. So that means that 11 represents the number of bones in the skull, and 3 represents the number of bones in the human ear. Okay, that's the ratio. We are given the number 22. It says that there are 22 bones in the skull. So we have to use our ratio of 3 to 11, right? And try to figure out what number needs to go with 22, right? So we can leave it as a ratio and figure out what that number needs to be by thinking about, well, how did we get from 11 to 22? What do we have to multiply 11 by to get 22? Well, we have to multiply by 2 to get 22, right? 11 times 2 gets 22. So whatever I did to that number, I have to also do to this other number. So what's 3 times 2? 3 times 2 is going to give me 6. So if the ratio of bones in the human ears is to the bones in the skull are 3 to 11, and I have 22 bones in my skull, it means that I have 6 bones in my ear. Okay, and that is actually true. The 3 bones are called, let's see if I remember, it's the stapes, the malleus, and oh my goodness, can't remember the last one. This is an H, I think. Oh man, my anatomy teacher would be so mad at me right now.
Yeah, Mr. G, don't be guessing.
Don't remember the third one. Don't remember.
Don't lie.
It's all right. But anyway, that's how that works. Okay, so we can do it just like that to get that answer. So let's look at this next one, kind of using the same idea. It says the ratio of games won, right? So games won is going to be the first number, to the ratio of games to games lost, right? That's going to be the second number for a baseball team is 3 to 2. So how many games did they win? Right? What does it say? Games won is what number? Is the first number, so it should be, this is the ratio, right? So 3 represents the number of games won, 2 represents the number of games lost, okay? That's their ratio. So that's the basis for what we're going to use to determine our next our numbers, right? So that's the ratio we're using. Apparently they win more games than they lose, right? So for every 5 games that they play, they win 3, lose 2, okay? That's the ratio. So we know that is our ratio. That's what we're working from. We're working from that idea first and foremost. All right, it now says that the team has won. The team has won 18 games, right? The team has won 18 games. How many games did they lose? So if we're working with the fact that they won 18 games, how do I get from 3 to 18? What do I need to do to 3 to turn it into 18? I have to multiply by what number?
You multiply that by 6.
Right. 3 times 6 gives me 18. So whatever I do to one number, I need to do to the other number. So what's 2 times 6?
2 times 6, 12.
Very good. Yep. So 2 times 6 is in fact 12, right? So that means that they won 18 games, but they lost 12 games, right? So this is the answer that we're looking for this one, right? They lost 12 games. How many games did they lose? They lost 12 games. There are 6 bones in the game. All right. The other way to do this, right, you always have the option of setting up your proportion and using a variable, right? 3/2 is the ratio. You set it equal to the number of games won, and you put an x under here and you cross multiply, right? 3 times x gives me 3x. 2 times 18 gives me what? What's 2 times 18? 36. We're going to divide both sides by 3, and we still get x is equal to 12, okay? I just want to make sure I'm giving you options and ways to do things, but you can just set them up as ratios and see how the ratios work together, or just set it up as a proportion, right? Proportion will always work. Right? Proportion always works. And somebody said something in the chat. Okay. Let's keep it moving. Now we're going to take a look at ratio tables. So a ratio table is just ratios that are set up to compare different things, but in a table format, right? And it's just easy for us to view those comparisons in that table or in that chart, right? And so that's really all a ratio table is. It's just that idea, right? It's just that a way to organize a comparison of ratios, okay? So let's look at this first example. It says the Notre Dame soccer camp has 169 soccer players signed up, and the coach needs to figure out how many dorms are needed if each dorm is large enough for 12 players, right? So we can show 2 different strategies to solve this problem, right? And so one strategy, of course, is to use this table that we have set up, right? If I have 1 dorm, it holds 12 children. If I have 10, it's going to hold 120, right? 5, 60, 15, 180, whatever the situation is. But I can count it all up to see how many dorms I'm going to need, right? The other way, of course, is to do it using a proportion. You can always use a proportion. That is always going to be the way to solve something, is using a proportion. So I say, it says that each dorm is large enough for 12 players. So 1 is large enough for 12. And I need to know how many I need for 169, right? Again, I'm just going to cross multiply. 1 times 169 gives me 169. 12 times x gives me 12x. And now I just have to divide both sides by 12. All right, you can use a calculator here if you need to, but we already kind of know what the answer is. 12 is going to go into 169 one time, and we're going to have 49. We're going to have 4, 48 with 1 left over, right? I can't leave that 1 child out in the cold, so I can't just have 14 dorms, right? I need to have 15 to accommodate all 169 students, right? Or I just make one of those kids share a bed or something, which would be very rude, right? If everybody else gets their own bed, and then like these 2, I'm like, nope, you guys couple up. But so 15, I need to have 15 dorms to accommodate all of the children, okay? So that's one way to do that. Think about it as a ratio, a proportion like that. We can also just use our table, right? We can see that 1 plus 14 is going to give me over the 169 needed. I can see that the 15 over 180 gives me enough to do it, right? There's various ways I can look at these tables to help me figure out a good answer, all right? And so we're going to kind of go over some of these strategies with how to use your table to get an answer. Of course, I always want to reference using a proportion, right? But proportions don't work for everybody. For whatever reason, people have a hard time working through proportions. So the other way to do it is to use these tables. All right, so I'm going to go down a little bit just so you can see how these tables work a little bit better. So I can always use the tables by adding them together, like I just said. Let's say, for instance, like I didn't have this block here that says 15, right? This 15 doesn't exist. Right? This 15 is gone. Just highlighting it now, but let's pretend it's not there. We can't see it. Doesn't exist. Yeah, I can still see it. Okay. The way that I can figure out that I need 15 is to add one column, this column here with 1 and this column here with 14. That'll show me that I need it. If I'm doubling everything, I can keep doubling until I get over the number. I can also subtract, right, to figure it out. I can multiply by 10. I can do it in halves, whatever the situation is. But what I'm saying is that this first column, right, because it gives me the ultimate ratio here, right? 1 dorm gives me 12 children. Whatever I can do to manipulate this or whatever other numbers I see in my table is how I go about answering my questions when I'm using a ratio table, right? Again, you can just use a proportion using this first ratio, or you can use the table itself, whatever works. So we're going to go through how that works by looking at a couple of examples. All right, so we have Olivia's fabric shop here. In Olivia's shop, 1 meter of yellow curtain fabric costs $12. How much would 9 meters of the same fabric cost?
Okay, did we put that again? I'm sorry.
The question is right here. It says, in Olivia's shop, 1 meter of yellow curtain fabric costs $12. How much would 9 meters of the same fabric cost?
Okay, well that's mostly that probably easy though for me. Like what I did. So what I did, I use 12 more times 9. If I use 12 times 9, that'll give you 108.
Okay, so it's 108 by multiplying, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. We got 108. We use the strategy of multiplying. Okay. Is there another way I can get that same answer? Anybody else? How can I get that answer of 108? Is there another way to get 108 as my answer?
Because you can do. That's answer.
You said, is it another way we can get
The answer of 108.
the answer of 108?
So he multiplied. He did 12 times 9. He got 108, which is correct. Is there another way for me to get 108? I may have circled it and put question marks around it and keep indicating
The 12 and the 2.
What could I do here to get 108? What's another strategy for me to use? I'm trying to figure out how much, I know how much 1 costs and how much 10 costs. How can I figure out how much 9 costs besides multiplying? What's the other way? I know all of y'all are still sleeping because of this election. I get it.
Nah, I ain't still asleep. I told you I have a hard time with math, so I'm trying to catch on as much as I can.
But all of y'all were adding and subtracting all night. Come on, what do we have to do here? If I have 1 and 10 and I'm trying to get 9, what do I have to do?
So you have the 1 and 9. You subtract 10 from.
You just that.
Subtract 1 from 10. That's all, right? If 10 is 120, I just got to subtract 12 to get 108, right?
Yeah.
All right, okay, all right. I think I got it, man.
I can subtract.
I'm about to say I didn't know where that part even just come from.
I can subtract, right?
All right, I got it.
I can
All right, so
multiply,
multiply and subtract.
right? Those are the two ways that I was given, right? I'm given all this information in my table. How can I use my table to get my answer? That's what I'm trying to show you guys, right? You don't have to, you can just use your table. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to like do other things. How do I use my table? This is one way to use your table. You got to subtract. All right, so you can subtract or multiply for Olivia's fabric shop. All right, I'm going to scroll down. All right, what about to rent a canoe? It says it costs $28 per day to rent a canoe along the Fox River. How much would it cost to rent a canoe for 5 days? It says one costs
Okay, so
10 costs 280. Give me a couple
a
strategies.
five is easy. A five. Yeah,
Go ahead, Mark.
I knew we were gonna say five. I was gonna say five is usually multiply. You multiply the whole with 28
Okay,
times
so I
five.
can
That will
multiply. Okay,
times five. That will give you like. My dad.
so I can use multiplication. What's 28 times 5?
Mhm. What are you talking about? We give you 100, 100 and by 140.
Okay, great. So that's one strategy. I can multiply. What's another way for me to get 5? Using the information that's here, what's another way I can get 5?
I'm wondering do we subtract this too?
Well, if I subtract 1 from 10, I'm gonna get 9. So not subtraction. What's another way for me to get 5? If I'm given 10, what's another way for me to get 5?
Let me see, Mr. G.
Okay. Oh, okay. I can think of the fact you divided that, for example, like you saying you trying to get 5, you divide 140 times 20 divided by 28. That would be,
Sorry? I'm trying to get the answer for 5. I don't have the 140 yet. I'm trying to figure out how do I get, what's another way for me to get 140? Like we just multiplied to get 140. What's another way, using the information that I already have, what's another way for me to get 140?
you give it on 140. Okay, I was saying that you.
There's another way to. Is it? Is you? I don't know. I don't know. I think I got it, but I don't know, Mr. G. Because I think how I just did it in my calculator, I think I just subtracted the 280 and the 140, and I just got 140.
Right, but you don't have the 140 yet. So you don't
know okay.
140 is there. So how do I go from 10 to 5? What's the relationship between 10 and 5?
They both going to 2. I don't know what to say. They're going to 5 top, going to 5. In a 5, baby.
Okay. So 5 is half of 10, right?
Right.
So if I am given this information, I'm going to erase. Like I don't have anything here, right? There's nothing here. All I have is this information. If I'm trying to figure out, it says that 1 day costs $28, 10 days cost $280. How much is 5 days? Well, one way to figure that out is I know that 5 is half of 10, right? So I just need to divide by 2. 10 divided by 2 gives me 5. 280 divided by 2, right? Again, 280, half of 280 is the same as just half of 28. Just put the 0 back, right? Half of 28 is 14 with the 0 at the end. So that's how I get 140. So another way to get 140 is to divide. So divide by 2. right? So if I'm given this information and I'm asked to look for 5, I have 2 options at least, right? I can multiply 28 times 5 to get 140, or I can take this information here, the 10 and the 280, and just divide it by 2. When I divide by 2, I'm going to get 140. Okay, so I have 2 ways. I can multiply by 5, or I can divide by 2. Those are my 2 strategies I can use at least to get 140. All right, we're gonna go down. We're gonna try a couple more. There's 2 more to try. We're gonna try the cost of juice. Okay. Sorry, we gotta clear this. So it says 1 bottle of orange juice costs $2.75. How much do 4 bottles of orange juice cost?
Okay. That's number 35. It's 35. So basically with that, it'd be 35 and 35.75. The way home, $35.75. The way Hawaii did 75, $2.75. I'm wonderful. $2.70.
So wait,
$2.75.
One second, Marvin. You're kind of going in and out. You're going in and out a little bit. So wait, hold on. If I have one that costs $2.75, right? It's not going to cost me $35 for 4. Right? That's not possible. Right? If one costs $2.75, 4 can't cost $35. So how do I figure out if I have one, how much 4 costs?
I mean, these are 75.
Mr. G, would you multiply 275 times 4?
Good. Right? So multiply by
That's
4.
what I'm saying.
But I heard $35.
$35. The way how I got that answer, I multiplied that by 4. That's how I did that for first time.
Not $35. Right?
Yeah, but
it's definitely not $35. Right?
So it's on in it.
Oh, sorry. I didn't. It's $11. I didn't carry
$11.
Yes, I didn't carry my 1 correctly. I have $11 here. But yeah, so that's the idea. I multiplied by 4, right? That's one strategy. I multiply by 4. That's how I can get that answer. What's another way for me to get that answer? I'm going to erase. So it's still blank. How do I get to 4? If I have this information that's given to me, how do I get to 4? All right, somebody wrote something in the chat. Let's see. So yeah, multiply 275 by 4, that's one way. What's another way for me to get to 4? Given the information that I have. Remember, you don't have to just use 1 bottle, you can use the 2 bottles. So I can multiply by 4. I can multiply this by 4. Right? What else can I do? What other option? How do I get from 2 to 4?
He'd be the same as ever. Hold up.
You just need to multiply by 2, right? 2 times.
So we can multiply 2 times if we have to.
So your 2 options are to multiply 1 by 4, right? Multiply what's in this one column, both of these numbers, multiply them by 4. Or you can multiply what's in the middle column by 2, because 2 times 2 gives me what? 4.
4.
So then 550 times 2 should give me $11,
Yeah.
right? Because that's what I'm looking for. So I can do 550 times 2.
All right, hold up real quick, Mr. G. Let me see something real quick. I'm trying to, so just in case. Hold on. All right, so you said you got hold on, that was 275 times 4. That got 11, and then you said you multiplied 50. Oh, 550 times 2. All right, okay. All right, I can see what you did.
Y'all are real quiet today. I'm a little worried. I'm not sure what's going on. I am not sure what is going on. All right, let's do this last one. Okay. All right, so if I'm buying stamps, so Mrs. Burns wants to buy some stamps for the office, how much will she pay for 40 stamps if each stamp is worth 46 cents? Give me 2 strategies I can use to solve this. There are a few strategies I can use. Give me 2. What's one way I can figure out how much 40 stamps is going to cost?
I would think
Wait, Marvin, you've answered a lot of them. There's some other people. I want some other people in the class to say something.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you, though, Marvin. I appreciate it.
So how we just did the last time, we just multiplied.
What did you multiply?
Okay, Mr. G, you can multiply 40 times 46 cents.
Okay. So I'm going to multiply what's in column 1 by 40, right? Because 1 times 40 is going to give me 40. So then 46 times 40 should give me the answer for how much that costs. Okay, good. That's one strategy. That's going to work. I'm not going to put the
And Mr. G, I want to say you can divide that too.
divide what?
I think you can divide 46 into 40.
But if I divide 46 into 40, I'm not going to get the same answer.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Nope, no, you sure not. Okay. Hold on, Mr. G, I got to work on this one for a minute.
Okay. So what's another way for me to get the answer for 40? I'm not going to write it in, because every time I write it in, I'll stop thinking. So what's another way for me to get 40? But I can multiply this by 40 to get 40. What's another way for me to get 40 using maybe one of the other 2 columns? What else can I do to get to 40?
I'm working on that right now. Give me 1 minute. Nah, that's too long. Yeah, we're looking for the same answer, 40, right? I mean,
we're looking for 40. How do I get to 40? Using one of the other 2 columns.
All right, the other 2 columns, all right.
Okay, so here's the way to think about it. How do I turn 2 into 40? Or how do I turn 4 into 40? What do I have to do to either of those numbers to make them become 40?
Would you divide?
I cannot make 2 in 40 by division, right? There's
No.
no way that I can divide 2 by any other number to make it 40. What do I have to do to 2 to make it 40? Okay, what am I multiplying by to make it 40? 2 or 4? What do I have to multiply 2 by to make it 40?
Multiply.
Right, right? 2 times 20 will give me 40, right?
Is that what you were saying?
Right, good.
Right.
Okay, so, all right, whenever we are looking at these tables in any way, shape, or form, all you're looking at is if I want to end up here, right? Because I need my answer for 40, right? I need to see what other numbers in this table I can use to make them into 40. What do I have to do to them to make them into 40, right? Because 40 is the number here that I'm trying to make this number or any of these other numbers into. Some of them won't work, but I know that I can make 240. All I have to do to make 240 is to multiply it by 20. So if I multiply this whole thing by 20, I'm going to get the same answer as if I multiply this whole thing by 40. So you can see that, let's just do the math. 0.46 times 40 is going to give me $18.40. 92 cents times 20 is going to give me $18.
And 4 cents.
Nope, same thing, 40 cents, right? Yep.
Oh.
Both of them are the same answer, and that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that answer, right? You just need to, I just wanted you to tell me 2 different ways to get it.
That
Use this table in any way to get you that answer. There's even a third way, right? If I multiply this by 10, I'm also going to get 40, right? 4 times 10 gives me 40, so $1.84 times 10 is also going to give me that answer, right? These tables represent ratios, right? So they work the exact same way that a ratio does. All right, so when we're looking at all of these examples that we've just looked at, it's the same thing as if I were to tell you that I need you to figure out how much yards, how much 36 yards is going to cost if I tell you the price for 12 yards, right? It's the same idea. Whatever I give you the information for, you should be able to turn it into the other thing using that same ratio, right? So that's all these ratio tables actually just make that process easier for you, right? So if you look at these tables again, we're going to go back through them, starting with the first one with Olivia's fabric shop, right? If I have 1 meter and it costs $12, how much is 9 meters, right? And again, my 2 strategies, I can either take this 1 and multiply it by 9, right? That's going to give me my answer here. Or I can take 10 and subtract 1. 10 minus 1 gives me 9, so 120 minus 12 will give me the answer here, right? When I scroll down to the canoe rental, it says, how much is it going to cost to rent a canoe for 5 days? It gives me the information for 1 day and the information for 10 days, right? Well, I know to get from 1 to 5, all I have to do is multiply by 5. So that's one strategy, multiply by 5. Well, I can also use my 10 days. I know that 10 is twice as much as 5. So I can just use the information for 10 and divide it by 2, and that will also give me 5. All right. Either one of those strategies will work. You don't have to use both strategies, but you should be able to see what strategies you can use. Okay. Next, we get on to the next one. The cost of juice. I'm given the information for 1 and 2, and I'm asked about 4, right? Well, I can turn 1 into 4. I just have to multiply 1 by 4, right? I can also turn 2 into 4. I just have to multiply 2 by 2, okay? That's
Mm.
right? So this is what you have to think about. If I need to figure out how much 4 is, I can use the table to help me, okay? And of course, we just saw the last one with the buying stance. It's the same idea, right? I want to get from 1 to 40, I can multiply by 40, 2 to 40 multiplied by 20, 4 to 40 multiplied by 10, okay? So use whatever kind of table you have, use that, and then use that to help you find the answer, okay? All right, so we're gonna look at a couple more examples of ratio tables because you have some work on that. Before I get into that though, I just want to remind you guys that, like I said on Monday, you guys are going to be doing a midterm examination. So in your folder, in your week 7 folder, ratios and tables, right? I have in here for you, part of what is required for the afternoon is either for you to complete your exit ticket or to do your midterm practice assessment. So again, this is a practice assessment. It is not your midterm. It's not going to count as your midterm. It is going to help prepare you for your midterm. So you can do this twice. So if you get a bad score or a score you don't like, you can take it again. Just like the real midterm, you can also take that twice. But this is 20 questions. Okay, your midterm, your exit ticket is only 5 questions, I think, maybe 10 questions. I'm not sure. But anyway, your midterm is 20. This practice is 20 questions. So it's a lot of questions, right? But it goes through all the last 7 weeks, everything that we've learned, and it asks you questions about those things, right? So if you see that there's questions that you have, it's a good time to like go over those things, go back through, or to be prepared on Monday morning to ask me to show you examples of that before I release the midterm to you all on Monday morning, all right? So I recommend going through this midterm practice assessment. It is one of the 2 things you can do this afternoon to get credit for this afternoon, but I recommend instead just doing the exit ticket for this week, all right? That's gonna help you get through what you need to do for today. Okay, the exit ticket is much shorter than the practice assessment. So one of these 2 things must be done today by 7 p.m. I suggest that you do the exit ticket, right? And save the midterm for another time when you have enough time to go through everything and take notes on what you need to study again, okay? But yeah, one of these 2 things again is due today. What we're gonna go over right now is practice number 2, the ratio tables. If you are watching back with me, if you're watching back later and you're not live with me right now, you must submit this practice that we're going to go over, practice number 2, in order to get credit for today. Those of you who are live with me are already going to get credit for today, but those who are watching back later must submit practice number 2 by 7 p.m. today. All right, so we're going to go over practice number 2 right now, ratio tables, and we're going to try to complete that together. Your notes are now done, so you can submit those as well. But we're going to go over this ratio practice right now. With table. Oh, actually, this is not table. It is. It's not table. All right. So we're going to use recipes first as our first example. It's a very real world example for those of us who cook. We have to change up recipes every once in a while to extend for our families, or to reduce if we're not cooking for our families. We're like trying to spite them. That happens too. So, nope, I'm not cooking for y'all, just for me. So that might happen if you're petty. I might be petty. Okay. So what is the ratio of eggs to cookies in this recipe to the left? What's the ratio of eggs to cookies? How many eggs does the recipe call for? Thank you. Yes, it calls for 2 eggs, right? And how many cookies does it make? It makes 10 cookies, right? So the ratio is in fact 2 to 10, but what's wrong with this ratio? Anybody see anything wrong with this ratio? I have 2 and I have 10. This is good, it's a good start, but what needs to happen to this ratio? I write it as a fraction, maybe you guys will see it then. If I write it like this, what's wrong with this fraction?
Oh.
All right, this ratio can be reduced. So when we write our answers with ratios, we always want to write the answer in the lowest possible terms, just like we would a fraction. So 2 and 10 are both even numbers that can be reduced by 2. 2 divided by 2 is going to give me 1, and 10 divided by 2 is going to give me 5. So when I write my ratio, I should write it as 1 to 5. I want to write it in the most reduced version possible. So for every 1 egg, I'm going to end up with 5 cookies. Right? That's what this says. For every 1 egg, I end up with 5 cookies. All right, what about this next ratio? It says, what is the ratio of cups of milk to cookies? So how many cups of milk do I have?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. G. I was trying to work on this. All right, what you say?
That's fine. You're not the only one in class. How many cups of milk do I have? I have 1, right? I have 1 cup
Yeah,
of milk, right?
yeah.
All right. So if I have 1 cup of milk and my recipe makes 10 cookies, my ratio is 1 to 10. Okay. What's my ratio of cups of flour to cookies?
Got 3 cups of flowers.
And how many cookies does it make?
10.
So my ratio is 3 to 10. Y'all get the idea, right? Right? Good. That's all we're really doing. We're looking at our recipe, we're trying to figure out what we're going to need. All right. So I can use the ratio from this first one to answer this next question. If I want 30 cookies, how many eggs will I need? Well, I can use my ratio. I have 1 to 5, right? That's my original ratio. For every 1 egg, I need 5 cookies. So if I want 30 cookies, how many eggs do I need? And I think Toya wrote it in the chat. Let's see. Good. Oh, Ebony wrote it in the chat. Look at that. Even better. Everybody's participating. Yay. Okay. So yes, very good. If I have 1 egg and it makes 5 cookies, but I want 30 cookies, right? How do I get from 5 to 30? I'm multiplying by 6. So I have to multiply 1 by 6 to get 6. I will need 6 eggs, right? So it's 6 to 30. That's my ratio. I'm going to need 6 eggs.
Oh.
All right. Same thing for here. If I want 30 cookies, how many cups of milk will I need? Well, I'm going from 10 to 30, which is a multiplication by 3. So I have to multiply the other side by 3. What's 1 times 3? It's just 3. So I need 3 cups of milk. If I want 30 cookies, how many cups of flour do I need? right? Again, I'm increasing by 3, right? A multiplication of 3, so 10 times 3 gives me 30. So then 3 times 3 is going to give me 9. I'm going to need 9 cups of flour. Right? This is how ratios work, and when you're working with recipes, the idea here, right? We're going to keep going and increasing. Very good by those numbers. Okay. All right. Let's go on to the next thing.
Cake.
All right, so this cartoon cake apparently feeds 10. All right. So that means there are 10 pieces in the cake. So what is the ratio of eggs to pieces in the cake? Or to pieces of cake? Eggs, pieces of cake.
Oh, feeds 10.
Mhm.
Feeds 10, 3 eggs, 1 cup.
10 pieces, right? 3 pieces, right? 10 pieces, 3 eggs, so 3 to 10, all right? Milk to pieces of cake, again, we just take the number of cups of milk, 1, how many pieces we got? 10, 1 to 10. And then same thing with flour to pieces of the cake, again, we have to reduce that. So it's not 2 to 10, but we reduce it to 1 to 5. Okay, let's keep going. All right, so using the information from our previous cake, right? We're still gonna keep the same idea. If I have 3 eggs, I'm gonna need, it makes 10 pieces of cake, right? But I want 30 pieces of cake. So how many eggs do I need? Perfect. Okay, all right, I'm gonna need 9. And I can use my table to help me out with that information, right? I use my ratio from before and I apply it here, right? I know that 3 eggs give me 10 pieces of cake, so that means in order to go up to 30 pieces of cake, I'm going to need 9 eggs, right? Same thing for down here. My previous ratio was 1 cup of milk for every 10 pieces. So when I go up to 30, I can make another chart here, but when I go up to 30, I'm going to also need 3 cups of milk. Right? 30. I don't want to scroll down because I'm mess up my writing. But okay. This is why we have tables. It's another way to help us visualize these things. Okay. I'm going to make you guys very visual math learners. That's going to be my goal. I only have a couple more weeks to do it. We'll see. All right, let's keep moving. Get all this done. All right. Again, my previous ratio was 3 to 10. No, 1 to, sorry, excuse me, 1 to 5. But I want to go up to 30 pieces. How do I go from 5 to 30 and multiply by 6? So here, again, I need to multiply by 6. Same strategy, right? I need 6 cups of flour. Y'all are going to be so tired of me and ratio tables. by the end of today that it's okay. Trust me, it's much better than counting electoral votes. All right. So if I want 60 pieces of cake, right? I have my chart here. 1 cup of milk, 10 pieces, 3 cups of milk, 30 pieces. What's a strategy to figure out how many cups of milk I need for 60 pieces? One way I can do it is, of course, just multiply and figure out that 10 times 6 gives me 60. So 1 times 6 means I'm gonna need 6 cups of milk, right? The other thing, of course, is to use my 3 and my 30. If I have 30, how do I get from 30 to 60? It's just a multiplication of 2. It's a doubling. I just double it. 3 times 2 also gives me 6. So this is why we use our charts. We use our tables so we can see that progression, right? If we keep all the information together, we see how things build. I know that 1 cup of flour gives me 10 pieces of cake. Nope, wrong. Gives me 5 pieces of cake. 2 cups of flour gives me 10 pieces of cake. And I know that to get to 30, I need 6 pieces of cake. If I want 60 pieces of cake, I'm going to need, as I think it's already been told, right, I'm going to need 12 cups of flour. 5 times what gives me 60? That's one strategy. So then 1 times what is going to give me that same number, right? Or I can use my 30. 30, I just have to multiply 30 by 2 to get 60. So then 6 times 2 gives me 1, 2, 12. I need 12 cups of flour. All right, just building on these strategies and these ideas. I use the information that I had before and I'm just adding on to get to my new information, all right? Alternatively, if I can do it in my head and I can do the multiplication, that's where I want you to be. But until you're there, this is the way to build up, right? And get there. If you can multiply, this is done for you in 3 seconds, right? If you need to build, right? Because this is how you get better at your multiplication, okay? When you see these patterns, it makes it easier for you. I don't ask you guys to multiply these numbers for my benefit, right? I normally know how to multiply. Sometimes I don't, some days I'm off. But I ask you guys so you can get used to these rhythms, right? So you can build this confidence in yourselves so that you don't have to keep going to the calculator, one, and wasting time doing that, but also that you can be more natural and fluid with your math, get your answers done quicker. Because why? We are doing timed testing. Everything is a timed test. So you have to be more fluent and you have to be quicker, unfortunately. All right, and then the last idea, we're gonna get 100 pieces of cake. Right, so cups of milk. Oh, look at what I did. This one should say how many eggs, obviously. This one is eggs, so if it's 3 and 10, and I want to get to 100, how many eggs am I going to need? Yeah, sorry, you guys wrote the answers. I wasn't looking. Oh, I haven't written the answers yet. If I have the same ratio, 3 to 10, how many eggs do I need? Okay, there we go. Now y'all are right. Not quite, almost. You're a little bit off. What are you multiplying by? 10 times what gives me 100?
Give you 10.
10 times 10 gives me 100, so 3 times 10 is going to give me not 33, but
30.
30. Good. Okay, so I need 30 eggs. Same thing over here. It's another multiplication by 10. So I need 10 cups of milk for 100 servings of cake. And what about over here? How many cups of flour do I need? How do I get from 5 to 100? What times 5 gives me 100? I can count. Count it up, count it up. $20. Perfect. I'm going to need 20 cups of flour. Not bad, right? Okay. All right. So let's do some ice cream. I can't have cake without ice cream. I mean, I could, but actually I can't have either of these things because I don't consume milk or dairy products. But anyway. No, actually, all right. I don't think I have the recipe for ice cream. Did I not include it? I did not include the recipe for ice cream. So you guys were off the hook for the last page. I don't have the ratios. So anyway, if you've done these first 3 pages, go ahead and submit practice number 2. We're done with that. You guys don't have to worry about practice number 2 anymore. We're going to take a look at practice 3, and then we will call it a day. So practice 2 is done. Let's go into practice number 3. Also on ratio tables. All right. So building your fluency with tables is going to help you guys as we move into the last phase of classes. We'll be working with tables and how to express the information in tables. So this is the first start. All right. So for this one, we are still manipulating information, but we're going to manipulate it in a much more mathematical fashion here with this practice. So it says that a machine can pack 70 boxes of spaghetti in 5 minutes. At this rate, how many boxes of spaghetti can it pack in 8 minutes? So as you can see, I have 1 minute here and then 8 minutes. Why do you think I have 1 minute? What do you think I'm indicating here for you guys to do? It says at this rate. So when you see rate, what should come to your mind? Who remembers from last week if you were here? You don't remember from last week, it's okay, I'll remind you, but what is a rate? If we hear the word rate, what should we think? When we hear the word rate, you should think division, okay? If I can do 70 boxes in 5 minutes, in order for me to figure out how many I can do in 8 minutes, right? I can set up the proportion, which is fine. I can definitely do that. Or I can set up this rate and divide it. So how many boxes can I do in 1 minute? So I have to divide 70 by 5. So step 5 goes into 70. How many times? It goes in 14 times. So I can do 14 boxes a minute. Now that I have this rate, I can just multiply this by 8, get my answer, okay? So 14 times 8 is 112, right? Your alternative to solving this is to set up your proportion and cross multiply. You're gonna do the exact same steps essentially. You have to multiply and then divide, or in this case, we divide and then multiply, but you still end up with the same answer, which is going to be 112 boxes of spaghetti. When I figure this out, I can figure it out for you. 5x is equal to 560. Divide both sides by 5. End up with x is equal to 1. If you need that math, check it. This is the proportion. All right, number 2. 150 grams of fertilizer is required for a land area of 6 miles. At this rate, how many grams of fertilizer is required for a land area of 13 square miles?
Okay, so what I know when I thought of it first, I would say I would do 150 divided by 6 first, and now try to do figure out for number 1 first. And then,
Very good. All right, so how many times is 6 going to 150? How many times is 6 going to 15?
Two times, because
How many times is 6 going to
I apologize, Mr. G. Which week is this that we doing right now?
20? It'd be 5 times.
This is week 7, practice
Okay.
number 3.
Okay, week 7, practice 3.
We're doing 5 times.
Okay, right, good. So it's 25 grams
Mhm.
for 1 square miles. So how many does it do in 13 square miles? You can multiply 25
No, 25. That'll give you 1.
times 13.
It give you 3. Give you 325.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. Looks good. It gives you 325 square miles. Again, you could always set
I ain't mean to do that.
your proportion instead and solve for x. Either way, you're going to get 325 grams of fertilizer. All right, it says a garden snail moves 1/6 of a foot in 1/3 of an hour. Find the speed of that snail in feet per hour. All right, so it moves 1/6 of a foot in 1/3 of an hour. I need to figure out how fast it goes in an hour. So that's 3 out of 3 thirds, right? So how far is it going to move in 2/3 of an hour? It's going to be 1/6. And how many 6 is it going to move in this third of an hour? How do I figure that out? What do I need to do? It moves 1/6 in 1/3 of an hour. How do I figure out how fast it moves in 2/3 an hour? Not fast, but how far it has moved in 2/3 of an hour. Let's think. Think, think, think. How do I get from 1/3 to 2/3?
One third, 2/3.
How do I get from 1/3 to 2/3? This is 1/3. How do I make 1/3 into 2/3? What do I have to do?
Um, 1 + 1 = 2.
So 1/3 plus what equals 2/3?
You said 1/3 plus what = 2/3.
If 1 plus 1 equals 2,
2.
so what's 1/3 plus what equals 2/3?
1, right?
Not 1.
Mm, mm.
1 what?
1. Hold on.
Well, 1/3.
Is it either 1/1 or 1/3?
I was right. 1/3.
1/3 plus 1/3 equals 2/3,
2/3.
Oh, gotcha.
So it's the 3 that stay the same.
right? Yeah.
I thought we added that up, the 3 and the 3 though. That's why I didn't say anything, because I thought that part got added up.
We never add denominators, only
Okay.
numerators. Okay. So 1/3 plus 1/3 equals 2/3, right? So all I did was add stuff. So that means all I have to do is add 1/6 and 1/6. This will give me how many 6? 1/6 plus 1/6 gives me 1 plus 1 gives me. Good. Okay, so it's just gonna give me 2 6, not 2 12, right? Okay, so what do I have to add to 2/3 to make it 3/3? 2/3 plus what gives me 3/3? It's not a trick question. Not a trick question. So 2 plus what gives me 3? Good. You just add
1.
another third, right? Good.
1/3. Oh,
Just adding another third. So if we're just adding another third at the bottom, all we're doing is adding another 6 at the top. So just add another 1/6. So if I have 2 6 and I'm adding another 6, what does that mean? What's 2 6 plus 1 6? That's going to equal what?
3 6.
3 6. So the speed of this snail in feet per hour is 3 6 feet per hour, which we're not going to leave as 3/6 because it's a fraction that can be reduced. So it moves at a speed of 1/2 of a foot per hour. That's a speedy snail. 1/2 a foot an hour. When you stop looking though, it'll disappear on you. Gotta watch out for this thing. Okay, so it moves at a speed of 1/2 of a foot per hour. I don't know, y'all seem real off today. I'm not sure what's going on. Y'all seem really off today. Very, very off.
Yeah, because you know I was not talking. You would want to hear everybody else was saying. That's why.
Y'all seem very off. Okay, let me just scroll down here for a second. You have 2 more problems left. We'll see if we can get them done before 10:30. If not, they're left for you all to do. But remember that if you're watching this back, I need you to submit practice 2 or 3 by 7 p.m. today. You guys have done them with me, so you guys can go ahead and just submit them for the credit. But guys, we're here live. Make sure you do your exit ticket by 7 p.m. today. And then I've also included your midterm practice to go over what we've learned over the last 7 weeks of classes. Please make sure you take a look at that as well to prepare yourself for Monday. All right, so Monday we're going to go over just a quick review of anything that anybody has a question about, and then I'm going to give you some time to do your midterm. Okay, all right. So now let's look at number 4, because that's where we are. It says a speaker system is designed to water 5/8 acres of land in a quarter hour. How much can it water in 4 hours? All right. So we're going to put at the top the land, and then we're going to put at the bottom the time. So we have 5 acres in 1/4 hour. We're going to try to get 1/4 hour to 1 hour, which is also just 4/4. Okay. We're going to get to 1 hour first. When we get to 1 hour, we're then going to be able to translate that into 4 hours. Okay. So how do I get from 1/4 to 4/4, right? What do I need to do to get from 1 to 4? What do I need to multiply by to get from 1 to 4? I feel so low. Thank you, Mark. I feel so low. I have to multiply by 4. So that means I need to multiply this fraction 5/8. We can multiply it by 4. 5/8 times 4 is the same as 5/8 times 4/1. When we multiply numerator to numerator and denominator to denominator. What is 5 times 4?
20.
Good. And 8 times 1 is just 8. So I'm left with 20/8, which I'm going to reduce so I don't have to work with big numbers. I'm going to reduce it by 4 because both of these numbers can be reduced by 4. So I divide the 20 by 4, I'm going to be left with 5 and 2. So I have 5 halves. Okay, and again, I want to move from 1 hour now to 4 hours. So I have to multiply my fraction again by 4, which is the same as multiplying by 4/1. 5 times 4 is 20. 2 times 1 is 2. 20 divided by 2 is 10. How many acres of land can it water in 4 hours? 10 acres of land. Another way to do this is to set up your proportion. There's another way to do that. You would end up with the same answer. You can try it on your own to see if you can get that same answer of 10. Okay, So 5/8 divided by 0.25 is equal to x over 4. You gotta cross multiply, of course, to get that. Those answers. All right, so that means I'm leaving number 5 for you to do on your own. And I will leave you all to recover. I'm not sure what was going on today, but I felt very alone in class today.
That's only because I'm the only one figured it out. Okay?
Okay. So have a
We're
good,
all stressed out about the election.
I know, that's gotta be it. That's gotta be it. Y'all are all depressed
We were
about the election.
up until 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning watching results.
I know I definitely was, but I have to say I was not surprised by the results because, you know, this is the country that we live in now. It is very depressing, but yes, this is just where we are.